welcome to the Improv Summit. There it is. I'm your host, Spencer. With me today, I have Chris. Chris, how's it going today?
Good, man. I had my second cup of coffee. It's only 3:51 in the afternoon, so I'm far behind on my caffeine intake.
Hmm,
But so far good. How about you,
great.
man?
I'm good. Just dealing with these times.
Oh god. Well, yo. You
I mean, one day I won't have to, but until then, I'm just. I was gonna say, what's that phrase? But it's making lemonade out of lemons.
it's like, oh, you were correct. It's making orange juice out of limes. Is that's the
Making
actual
Gatorade out of water. I mean, I guess you
yeah.
can. I guess that.
Make
Anyways.
make the old biblical saying, making wine out of water.
Making clothes out of trees. I don't know, whatever, Anyway, let's dive in because we're here to talk about not only biblical phrases from long ago, but also about improv, which I'm not very
Hey.
good with the Zoom thing, I realize, because I'm like, you get the idea.
I mean, you're
Improv.
reversed. You're reversed. If the picture in your feed was reversed, it'd be easier. But you're doing like a weird reverse mirror thing. So
I like a challenge.
there you go.
So that being said, completely unrelated note. Tell me about your improv background. Like
Oh
what do you do
gosh.
for improv?
Okay, so for improv, I started off in high school attempting to audition for Comedy Sports High School League at my alma mater of Narbonne High. I did not make it my junior year, but in my senior year, I also did not make it. Um,
I don't know why
and
that was
then I went
funny. Sorry.
and then community college. I took my first classes at El Camino, and me and my friends in the class formed our own little indie improv team that lasted all of maybe 6 months. And uh, then university college, uh, I continued my streak of not making it onto the teams. So and did not make live nude people with clothes on
Mm,
at UC Irvine.
it's okay.
But
I fall into the same trap of just finding time when I actually get on the team.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I found out recently that with my track record and my determination to keep doing improv, I only reason why I'm still doing improv today is out of spite.
Mm, that's a
Because
good way to do it.
right? Yeah, you keep doing it because, like, yeah, no, I'll prove you to you guys from 14 years ago that I can do this. So I'm now at a level where I totally would have made my high school comedy sports league, like no problem at all at this point.
No questions
Maybe
asked.
maybe not college, but high school totally.
Definitely one step ahead.
Yes,
Not two,
and
just
then
one.
yeah, and maybe a little back step, but
Yeah,
it's almost there.
just a
And
baby
then so
step.
basically after UCI, I went through the UCB training, 101, 201, 2, etc. Um, and in 2015, I joined my current indie team, Room to Improv, which is a Asian American short form team that we were based out of NoHo. And this team's actually been around for a while. We're at least no, but last year I lost count because of how last year went. But it's like
Yeah.
19 years this team has been around
Wow.
through different iterations. Um, we're one of the longer running Asian American short form teams. It's a very specific niche of the short form Asian American team. We're one of the longest.
Mm.
um,
One of the longest
but
short form.
yeah, one of the longest short form teams. But so I've been with them since 2015, um, and uh, and then I started up doing shows at Second City for the really awesome improv show, which is another short form team, family friendly, and I seem to be getting more performing opportunities with Second City uh, than UCB. And then I did like one workshop with Karen Maruyama from Whose Line Is It Anyway at
Mm.
Groundlings. So it's like a spattering of like the different schools. So I have an idea of how everything is run.
It's like a Jackson Pollock painting, just a little
Yeah.
splatter of everything.
Get a little taste of everything else, and possibly put it to use, maybe if I remember.
Yeah. Well, paint splots. Paint splots is that? It's a little
Splotches,
maybe splashes. Is that a
splats.
thing? I don't
Paint.
know.
I don't.
Pointillism.
Well,
What is it really?
yeah. Let's go with pointillism. Paint pointillism. What we're trying to go for, guys.
It's not because
Um,
pointillism is the. Anyways.
it's like the worst kind of. It's like you arrange paintbrushes, like the small paintbrushes, in a row into like a big like pizza pan thing, and you just like press it once, and it's a weird concept. It's funny in my head, but I can't explain it very well. So you guys are getting that for the episode. A lot of half explanations from
I
this
could just
guy.
give you like an example of pointillism. It's the Joshua painting.
Oh, Sunday in the
Afternoon on
park.
the yeah, Sunday in the Park, whatever it's called.
Yes,
Island on La Grande Jatte, afternoon, Sunny Island, whatever, the long title.
sunny on the
That's
grassy knoll.
that painting is pointillism, which I think involves like this.
Yes, no, yeah. It's a lot of tiny little dots to form it. It's like one of those pictures that you form with tinier pictures,
Yeah,
which I don't know the name of that.
I don't know if I know what you're talking about.
It's like you get like a bunch of pictures, and then a computer program forms them to make a gigantic picture. And if you zoom in, you can see little tiny pictures, and it's like
Ah,
by shade and picture
yes.
color. Um, and I don't. I'm pretty sure there's a term for that, but I would not know what that is.
If anyone knows, you can leave it in the comments down below and let us know what that thing is because I'm
Please
very
do.
intrigued. And I'm sure if I just Google the thing where it feels like the pictures are inside the pictures that looks like a painting, I'm not going to get much results on that. So who knows?
Or no, we don't want the answer as quickly as we could get it. I would prefer to wait how many months it takes for this episode to come out.
Correct. I also want to be
So
on pins and needles as opposed to
yes.
points and needles. Pins and needles.
Hey,
That's what I want.
hey.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, that's the show. Just kidding.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been Spencer's show, the Improv Summit. Uh,
Yeah, you could just do the outro. Okay, great.
yeah,
So speaking of outro, on a completely unrelated note,
yeah.
what drew you to improv? You kind of talked on it a little bit because of the spite,
Mm,
but like other than
mm.
spite, what what drew you to improv in general, and like what kept you doing improv?
Okay. Well, what initially got me into improv, I it was weird. So me getting into theater is sort of goes hand in hand with me getting into improv. Um, I didn't get into theater until my sophomore year in high school, and what happened was, uh, I had gone away to live in Jacksonville, Florida, or my family where I'm originally from, and I moved back for a year because my mom was doing her residency, and while we were there, I had to stay for during the summer break. It's like a month earlier than the West Coast, so I had like this whole extra month of nothing to do, and then they had a summer musical, and I enjoyed singing, but wasn't really like looking into getting into theater. And so I auditioned for the show. I got it, and I got the theater bug. And so I kept doing theater when I moved back the year after, back here in California. And my my theater drama class had a comedy sports team, and that's the first time I ever seen improv. And I'm like, this is awesome, and it's funny. And may have never gone made it onto the team, but I went to every single game, either like at home game or an away game, and I always like tried to do the workshops that they offered. Um, and I just kept doing improv because I really enjoyed it, and again fueled by spite because I never made the teams. But yeah, it's just something I never thought I'd get into as much as I have been now. It's just something like super fun that could add to my acting. Um, but I love the fact that it's made me more confident as a person.
Mm,
If I go to an audition nowadays, if they have like minimal dialogue or whatever, or they say like, no, just try something. And I'm like, okay, it teaches you how to roll with the punches um, and like try things just because it makes you laugh.
mm,
It's
mhm.
usually that's the case that people super enjoy. It's like, he's not afraid to do that like somersault roll when we only have like this much space, you know. But
Hmm.
yeah, it really I found it really translated to a lot of things outside of just theater or outside of comedy, you know. Um, and it's just like something that's always stuck with me, even you know, throughout the years of getting getting sad of not making teams. So
I love that. I'm glad you mentioned confidence because for those who have been watching and or listening, I talk a lot about how confidence has helped me as an improviser. Improv has helped me with my confidence because I had an internship in college that shall remain nameless at this point, where my supervisors
names.
they may watch this. I doubt it. But my supervisors almost. I just felt like I was less than every time I walked into that internship. And I
Mm,
remember, quote specifically, I was told once that I had hit rock bottom, that I was the worst intern they've ever had. I
wow.
had all these things that I truly believed. And so for this was like me getting ready to graduate from college and then going into my master's program, I still was like, I'm not confident in myself. And then I went out and I was like, oh, improv, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm just going to feel like I can't do anything. And then doing improv, it's helped me realize, like, oh, yeah, everything I do is right. And I started to pick up on things. And I love those moments where things start to click. And for me,
Mm.
things sometimes clicked right away. And other times it took me like going through a whole program for something to click. But I love that you brought up confidence because that's one thing I'm actually going to segue into that question. Hey, I figured out a segue that
Hey,
works.
nice,
Um,
nice.
that confidence is one thing that I gained from improv that helps me in daily life. Besides confidence, what are some other elements of improv that you feel that you've been able to attain in everyday life, or what are some everyday things that you've learned that you learn through improv that can be used in everyday life? I think you know what I'm saying. I messed
Yeah,
that
yeah,
question
yeah.
up because I
I
was so
mean,
excited about the segue that I messed up the question. But
I mean, I feel like one of the things would be, you know, thinking abstractly about things. You know, if you're in like a brainstorming scenario, someone will give you an idea, and like you with the improv training, and it's like, no, this could work. This could if you do this, and this can lead to this, or you can even like be more abstract with that idea of like instead of this, it makes you think of this, which could work as the idea for whatever project you're working on. If it's like an art project or a writing project, um, or even with interacting with strangers. You know, it's instead of like coming up with an idea for something, the improv skills helps you learn how to just talk to people. You know, like you get a feel for what kind of person they are, and then you know approach it in a sense of like that could handle that. If they're more meek, you know, you can be more understanding. If they're loud, you can like match their loudness
mm,
to like get them to be like, oh, you're pretty cool. You know, it makes you a better people person in that sense, I think.
I love that. I want to talk a little bit about this people person kind of thing because one thing that most people may or may not know about improv is there's a lot of like teamwork that's involved. So with people, I was gonna say with people, um,
With
with
people
with
versus
a
dog people.
you know
Um,
with a people person. God, that sounds so. I'm thinking of like the Weeble Wobbles. For whatever
Weeble
reason, I don't
Wobbles.
know why. I'm just like Weebles Wobble, like a Weeble Wobble, because it's a people. It's a
Yeah,
people, a
people,
Weeble
people. You
Wobble.
know,
Um, Boy, we've gotten so off topic. At least I've
oh
gotten
yeah,
off
no, it's
topic.
great. It's totally great.
But
It's exactly what we want. Um,
with a people person, um, what are what are some characteristics that you've discovered as far as people or
mhm,
not people in terms of
mhm.
improv on a team when it comes to working together? What are some strengths of like a people person versus a non-people person?
Oh, interesting. I mean, like, are you saying like what if a person is not a people person? what are their strengths versus a person who's a people person.
Sure. Yeah. I guess like or Weeble Wobbles, whatever you feel like you want to. But yeah, I think it's like so. I guess let me preface it by saying,
Okay.
like I know that like with me, like my brain is very much analytical. So like a
Mm,
lot of times people are like, you got to get out there and do a scene. I'm like, just pull me out because I'm so focused on like how to bring back this character or how to find a button or when to edit the next scene that I'm not focused on
mm,
like jumping into a scene.
I
It's
get
just
it.
because I'm just like so focused on everything else. And so like I would almost consider me to be the not people person
I
in
see.
the
I see. I
sense
see.
of I guess like non-people and people person is a weird phraseology,
Uh huh.
but it's I guess that's more of like a left brain improviser versus a right brain improviser, I guess
Right. Or
is what I would say.
Billy Merritt's robot versus pirate.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Totally.
think that that's I guess where I'm at. Like what are some strengths that you feel like for someone who's more of a left brain analytical improviser versus a more creative improviser? Like what are the strengths of each of those?
I feel like the analytical part deals more in logistics. Um, like it's a the funny is in the simplicity and like what makes sense. You know, like a friend of mine in college was doing a scene where the person who started the scene was like, "Did you bring the forks that you didn't need?" And he goes, "No." Why? Because we didn't need them. It was like the simplest answer and makes total sense. And I thought it was hysterical because like, no, it's exactly what you were like saying. Like you didn't need them, so why would you bring? You know, versus like a more right side is the more creative, right?
Yeah.
Um, they can do like the big scenes, the crazier characters, and I think they both sides can work well together because you always need like the rule of like there's like the straight person versus the funny person, or you can use your analytical side to justify why this crazy person is doing what they're doing.
Hmm.
There are different strengths to both.
And I think
And
no, go ahead.
Oh, to say, going back to Billy Merritt, like his whole idea of like the robot brain is the analytical, the pirate brain is like the chaotic, crazy, and then when they work together, they're a ninja brain. So like you can
Hmm.
use both sides if you're more comfortable with using both sides versus choosing one or the other. But again, either works. It's about how you use it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say what that reminded me think of is like the idea that like people always want to know if they're doing improv right. And I think what's interesting is I mean, on a rare occasion there's a wrong improv if you got any of the
Right. Yeah.
isms in there or something like that. But generally every choice you make in improv is right. It may be a different choice than someone else was thinking because
Mm,
again with the idea of whatever type of improviser you are, it's
mm.
more fascinating to see eight different types of improvisers than seeing eight of the exact same improviser where you know exactly where something's going to go, you know everyone's going to make the same choices. It is fun because I know that like with me I was doing an audition for something and the scene was they were like breaking this news that I was turning into a werewolf and like I would always at night turn into a werewolf, and so they were like, I'm sorry to tell you you're turning into a werewolf. And I think they were expecting me to be like, oh no, like what a bummer. I literally went, sick, dope, that's pretty awesome, like I can't wait to like shapeshift every night. And they died laughing, and then I got on the team, but it was just like one of those things where it as that almost is more of like a creative brain for me
Mm,
more than my analytical brain, but also my analytical brain went, choose a different thing than what you would expect. So
right.
my
Yeah.
my left side of my brain was telling me to make a choice that the audience wouldn't expect, and my right brain was like, here's that choice, throw it in there. And so I
Yeah.
think it is something to say about like when you're talking about the pirate versus the robot, which creates that ninja that Billy
Mm,
Merritt talks about, is the idea that again, all those improvisers work well together, that I'd rather see robots, pirates, and ninjas than a bunch of pirates.
exactly. Exactly. It gives it variety. And like going back to what you're saying, like people are always like worried they're not doing improv correctly. It's just I think feel like that stems from how strict early improv classes can be, where they
Mm,
teach you the basics. Like, yeah, I get it that you're not supposed to say no, you're not supposed to deny, but there's always a reason for that because early improvisers like will want to put in their own ideas. There are ways to actually use the no to add to the scene, but people early on don't get that. And once you learn, the basics, like it's fair game what you do, as
Mm.
long as you can like work well with others. Like the whole idea of an improv scene is uh, collaborative comedy. Like you do a thing and they react to what you're doing, and you build this comedy scene that together in the moment. And if you're working with the person, then of course it's going to be funny. But if you're actively trying to steer it yourself, it's going to derail completely.
Mm. That's a great point. I love that, and it actually brings me up to another point that's completely unrelated because I have a question for you.
Good
Um,
segue.
yeah, thanks. It's funny because people are like, "Oh, segues," and I'm like, "Yeah, you act like that joke's never been done before. I've had that joke multiple times." On my next segue, um, so there's like all these moments in improv that I remember, and there's ones that I don't remember at all. And
Mhm.
people are like, "I remember, when you did that one show like 3 weeks ago, and you did this thing." I'm like, "No, but please tell me what you remember because I sure don't." Um, are there any moments, whether they're like strong or maybe like the oopsie nights? I
Mhm.
guess is what I'll call them, like the oopsies. Any moments that you remember from an improv show, whether it was you performing or you watching,
Mhm.
that you like, it's just an unforgettable moment. Whether it's like unforgettable because it was amazing, or unforgettable because it's like, whoops, don't want to do that again.
Oh man, I got a couple I like. I'll
Sure.
go through them. You can cut out what you don't
No, no,
want.
no. Go for it. Go
But
for it.
I think one of my favorite moments that I remember is because we were doing a improvised music. There's a audition where it's like you come in, you say your name, you improvise a song based off suggestion, all that. And my character comes in. It's a musical theater audition, and as I'm singing the song, I don't know why I did it, but the song I created was, instead of it being a solo, was a big group number, and my character decided only to sing his parts and be like, "All right, guys, and your turn." Cool. And like I just kept doing that. I'm like, this is what the song is happening. It's he's like at the end it's like, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have picked a group number. But I hope you liked it. I was very proud of that. Usually I don't
It's a strong
remember
choice.
things. Thank you. Usually I don't remember things. Because like I think one of the best ones is like you're in the moment, because and then you won't remember what you did. But sometimes I love it when you can remember something that you were proud of.
Yeah.
Another example was I was watching, I think it was Belle Biv DeVoe with Eugene Cordero at UCB. I think that was their team name, but they were doing oh my god, I will never forget this night. They were doing a scene or doing a herald where their whole thing was like, it was like, did you eat the humans? Like, were we not supposed to eat the humans? No, we're supposed to eat the humans. Like, it was bad. Like that whole opening scene was bad. Like
Mm.
they knew it, we knew it, they know that we knew it. Like you could feel it in the energy. Okay, and then I come back to it. The second time they did it, they like brought it up a tier to like the commander. Like, did you eat the humans? Like, blah blah blah. Like, and it was funny. And by the third time, it was the funniest scene in the entire Herald, because they had successfully done like the beating of a dead horse. Where like they kept going back to the bad joke, but like they 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 doubled down on it, and it was like the best like raising of the dead I have ever seen. It was incredible, you know, and that solidified Eugene as one of my favorite improvisers, I think, in the community. Um, and I think one of my favorite uh, im, improv moments outside of a show was this. Okay, here we go. So 2 Halloweens ago, I got to meet LeVar Burton,
Mm.
the LeVar Burton from Star Trek Next Generation and Reading Rainbow and Roots. And he was one of his episode of Reading Rainbow, where they go behind the scenes of Next Generation, was what got me into sci-fi. Like, it's
Mm.
the episode. I'm like, this is incredible. It may have gotten me interested in the entertainment business in the first place, because of like, I first time I'd ever seen anything like that. They showed you behind the scenes, how they filmed the exterior of the starship, et cetera, et cetera. And he gets his haircut at a barbershop next to my dentistry that I work at. And I had known about this for like a couple months, never had seen him. And then one day I come in, I'm working a half a day. My boss is like, "Hey, LeVar Burton's at the barbershop. I just saw him go in. Maybe we'll see him like walk out." And I work my shift, did not see him at all. Like, well, maybe I won't see him, or maybe I'll see him one day. And as I'm walking out, she goes, "Oh, hey, he's leaving." Like, oh, I'm like, well, I'm not going to see him now. So
Mm.
I go to the back of the office, go to my car, and as I get to my car, there's LeVar Burton currently in the corner because he'd parked 2 cars away from me. And I'm like, oh, damn, you're LeVar Burton. He's like, oh, hi. Yeah, nice to meet you. What's your name? I'm Chris. We talked for a second. I got to gush to him about how he turned me into the nerd I am. He's like, oh, well, that's great, man. Like, what do you do now? I'm an actor. I'm doing this. I'm talking to him. And I'm like, so what's, oh, yeah. So happy Halloween. You dressing up with you and your family? He's like, nah, I don't really dress up. Um, we talk a bit more, and I'm like, we say our goodbyes. And as he's leaving, he goes, "Oh, Chris, like, yeah, I just figured out my costume. I'm gonna be a college-educated black man." That usually scares a lot of people, you know. And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, this is my moment to like, banter with LeVar Burton. And I had been doing improv for at least 12 something years at this point. I've done like shows at different like theater locations, short form, long form, and all these years of improv have led me to this moment. And I get to he goes like that'll scare a lot of people. And like in that moment, my improv brain goes, "Yep, that's how you do it." And I get into my car and I drive away, completely fumbling that fast. And I'm like, that's what happened. That's my improv moment with LeVar Burton.
Words,
Yeah, that's yeah, that's how you do it, LeVar Burton. Good for you.
but that's
Goodbye.
still an awesome like meet like a person to like see like in person. Like
Yes,
they're real.
absolutely.
They're real. I
Yeah,
had
I know.
the I remember it was in Burbank. I remember I was meeting with someone and we were sitting, and then like we were sitting at this like two table, and then there's like a bigger table, and the person I was with, he just kept looking over to the side like while we were talking, and I was like, he is so distracted by something. And he
Uh-huh.
goes, dude, look over there. I was like, what? He goes, that's Anne Hathaway right there.
Oh,
And we look over, it's literally Anne Hathaway having like brunch with her friends. We
oh
didn't say anything,
man,
obviously, because we didn't want to like, interrupt her. But it was just one of those things where it's like just Anne Hathaway is just chilling, like, and this is like
yep.
this is obviously post Les Mis because I was not in LA during Les Mis. So she's like Oscar winning Anne Hathaway just having brunch in Burbank.
Man,
So
that's
that was
cool.
pretty cool. I won't say where it is because you have to figure that out on your own. I said it's in Burbank, but whatever. Anyway, that being said, going into another segue that's completely unrelated, but is also about improv, so it's kind of related
There's a
actually.
through line. There's
Yeah,
a
it's all about improv.
all right.
This is going to be a bunch of questions, but
Okay.
just answer
Okay.
whatever you
Oh
want, whatever you
boy.
remember, I'll throw it at you. And by a bunch, I mean like two. Um,
Oh, I
do you
mean,
have any favorite types of improv? And if so, what?
oh
And or do you
man.
have any? Because you talked about short form. Do you have any favorite like
Mhm.
short form games, whether in performance or in warm up, or even just seeing that you like to watch, but maybe you don't like to play, or love to play but don't necessarily like to watch, or whatever? Anything that you
That's a
want to answer from those questions.
that's a good question because having not done improv for almost a year, it could take me a second to reboot my brain. Um,
Reboot like a
like
robot.
a robot. Like I think my favorite form of improv, I think lately, because I've been listening to it a lot, is musical improv.
Hmm.
I think it's just it combines a lot of my loves of comedy, improv, and I went to school for musical theater, so all that together, uh, which I think is great because especially it's also incredible to watch because you have a live band or at least a live piano player to do it to play with you, and uh, that's a whole another level of improv that I don't get to do very often. And like I said, I was listening to a lot of Off Book, the musical, and just the stuff they come up with is just mind shattering.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going to Baby Wants Candy at UCB the very first time I went, and they improvised a patter song, Spencer.
Yeah,
I don't understand, like
I can't do
how
a a patter song like with words in front of me.
me either. Like the how fast are these people's brains going to improvise? For those of you who don't know what a patter song is, it's a very fast staccato song
Yeah.
One more famous would be Modern Major General
I was just gonna
from
say Modern Major
yeah
General.
from
I am
Pirates
the
of
very
Penzance. Yeah,
bottom.
and like the words are constant, nonstop, no pauses, and they made this up on this spot, and it just blew my mind. I'm sure there's like a form that they've practiced with it, like there's a structure to it that I'm not aware of, but it was just incredible. You know,
Yeah. And
I
another
want
another big patter song, just on a side note real quick, another big patter song is "You Got Trouble," right, friends? Right here. I say "Trouble Right Here," River City. For
yep,
those who know music, man, that's another really
yep,
big popular one. Anyways, continue.
yes, yeah. It's just no high energy, just no stopping. So yeah, musical improv is one of my favorites for sure.
Hmm.
When it comes to short form improv, oh, this is a hard one. One of my favorites easily is movie in a minute.
Ah,
Movie in a minute is one where you pick someone randomly in the audience or whoever wants to volunteer. You find a movie that they either have seen, have not seen, what have you, and have them describe the plot of it in a minute. And it's so funny to watch them one flounder because they get through it too fast or they don't get through it fast enough and they have to speed up their ending. And the second part is just taking everything that they said literally and doing it on stage. Like one was someone did what was it? Was it I think it was a Die Hard, you know, a Die Hard or something. They're talking about
which
Nazis. Maybe not,
keep
maybe
in
not the
mind, keep in mind that even then the audience members, because I haven't seen Die Hard, but keep
yeah
in
yeah
mind that a lot of times you'll call an audience volunteer who maybe has never seen the movie, and they
oh
have
yeah
to still give the synopsis based
oh
on what they think the movie's about.
Oh, that happened for Die Hard. Like for Die Hard, this person like we even said out like someone suggested the movie. We're like, all right, who's seen Die Hard? They raised their hand and like I'd never actually seen it. Why would you raise your hand?
Uh
Because
huh.
now you have to explain the movie. So they we did a completely false version of Die Hard, where it's like, yeah, and then he got on a boat and then drive off, and then he's like making up plot lines. It
Uh
was
huh.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's
that
super
happens.
fun.
But
Yeah.
it's also fun because when you get those audience members who, it's like they almost want to be part of the joke. Like,
Yeah.
which is what's interesting. It's like I bet this person was like, "Oh, I don't know it, but I also kind of like want to be a part of the show." So it's
Yeah.
like, and it's like also it's fun because it's like you can think of this idea where it's like, I mean, even then, like I know the general plot of Die Hard. That if someone's like, "Okay, we're going to be doing a scene on Die Hard," it's like,
I've
okay,
never
I can be thinking,
I've never heard anyone use that inflection, by the way.
what
Um, Die Hard.
what? Die Hard. Die Hard.
It's
Die
Die
Hard. Die
Hard.
Hard.
Yeah, but it's like, have you seen
Well,
that Bruce
you
Willis
don't
movie, Die Hard?
you don't die soft, you die hard. Die hard. Die hard. I don't know.
Die
The point
Hard.
is now I'm gonna like go back and like look at all the movies I have and say them and see if I'm saying them the way that most people say them or not. Like we were talking about Good Burger offline beforehand. Now I'm wondering if it's like
Yeah.
Good Burger. Good Burger.
Good burger.
Good Burger. Uh, anyway, I'm just plugging Good Burger because everyone go watch it because it's a nostalgic movie and it's fun and amazing and everyone should go
Yeah,
watch it.
man. Yep.
Anyway, but yeah, what I love about that is like it's again it goes back to the improv experience is that like even if it's like, oh, I'm gonna do a whole thing of Good Burger, like like I said, I can quote that movie pretty much the entire movie. But if someone explains the plot of Good Burger and they talk about it taking place like at a skate park, I've got to be listening to that because what they're saying is how I'm telling the story. Even if I know the
Mhm.
story by heart, I've got to tell it the way that the audience member because we want to not only support our team members but also support our audience volunteers as well.
Mhm. Mhm. I think one of my favorite moments of that particular one where they did Die Hard.
I didn't even know I said it that way.
It's the audience member describing it was like, yeah, and he beat up some Germans, and I had no context as to who these Germans were or what they were doing. So in the scene, we just took that literally. We had two Germans talking like, "Oh, what a nice day," and then the guy comes in and beats them up. And
Well, I guess Hans Gruber, yeah, Hans Gruber, I guess sounds pretty
it's,
German. I do know that character exists in
there
the
you
movie.
go. There it is.
And then Nakatomi Plaza, and
Good. Okay. Okay.
there's an explosion. I know all this stuff. I also know
Okay.
who dies.
All right.
I know about the what is it, the air vent, the duck, the
It's the
air,
air
the
vent, crawling through
you
the air
know,
vents.
all these things, and it's Bruce Willis with a gun. So I mean, what else can you expect?
That's true.
It's
It's true.
also apparently a Christmas movie, but also controversially not a Christmas
Oh
movie.
no, it's absolutely a Christmas movie. Absolutely a Christmas movie.
I think anything that has like I was like, well, if that's the case, then Instant Family is a Christmas movie because they open up gifts in the movie on Christmas, so it should be a Christmas movie.
Okay.
I
Okay.
love Instant Family. Also, gonna throw out a pitch for that movie too. It's a great
Is that
movie.
the
I love
one
it.
with who's the actor? It was
Mark Wahlberg, Rose
Mark Wahlberg,
Byrne,
and then
um,
they adopt kids.
yeah, Isabella
Okay.
Moner, what's her name? From
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which actually was a
Was
pretty
it
solid
Dora?
movie.
I
Oh,
watched
Isabella
the
Moner, yeah,
I
Moner.
watched like half of it. I've been meaning to finish it because like I watched it on a plane, but I was like, this is funny. Like
Did you get to
silly.
the part with the? Now we're on a tangent for real, but did you get on the? Did you see the part where it's like the poison dart frog
No,
and
no, no. I think I got to the point where like maybe like not half of it, maybe like first third of it, because like she gets to the school and I can't remember anything after
oh
that.
yeah, you got to keep watching because there are moments. It's very uh what what's the word? It's inconsistent as far as tone,
Hmm.
um, but there are moments where it's like the annoying things about the show that you just like love to be annoyed by
Oh
are
God,
brought
yes,
back full hearted, full force in this movie, and you're like,
I love it.
I'm so glad you brought this back because it made me. I was so annoyed by this in the show, and now I'm like, I can be annoyed by the fact that like I remember being annoyed by it.
There you
But
go. Yeah,
the
yeah.
when you see the poison dart frog scene, that's my favorite moment entirely.
Okay.
You can actually watch it on YouTube because I found it, but
I
I
think it's on
busted out
Amazon right
laughing.
now.
Yeah, yeah, but I busted. I mean the actual like clip that you could just find on
Oh,
YouTube. But
okay.
I actually busted out laughing in the theater. I
Yeah.
think I was the only one in the theater because it was like the day before it left theaters. But it was so, like that moment. I was like, this is the moment I've like remembered from the movie the whole time. It's like the only moment I
That's
remember.
all they can ask for, man.
Yeah, is
It
one
moves you
line,
in some way.
and I think it was in the trailer too. But anyway,
I'll have to watch it. I definitely want to finish it.
yeah,
I remember enjoying it.
it's a fun movie that is hitting that nostalgia kind of moment. And speaking of nostalgia, on a completely unrelated note, I have another question for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm
and
not
this
sure if
one's
my answers made any sense the past
oh yeah,
question, but
I think it's great. I think we if not, people can improvise their idea of what the answers mean, so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Um,
Freedom of interpretation.
that being said, we're getting into a couple of like heftier questions, I think.
Ooh, okay, cool.
So feel free to answer what you want and don't answer what you don't want.
Okay.
What makes a successful improviser? Sorry, I burped at the same time I was asking the question. What makes a successful improviser?
You're just like, no, not sure what the word is.
Yeah,
Successful improv. No, what makes a successful
and
improviser?
that's whatever that means to you.
Um, I feel what makes a successful improviser is someone who is not afraid to, have fun in the moment, um, but also, you know, take cues from your teammates,
Mm,
because again, you're not doing this alone. It's about working with these people, to create something, that'll make people laugh. You know, and it's all about, and again, it's all about having fun. If you're the only one having fun, then it's not
mhm.
really good. It's everyone has to have fun.
Yeah,
So if you work together, that's why a lot of like improv teammates have to like you know get used to each other's improv styles.
mm,
But yeah, so again, it's just being able to have fun, but also being able to uh, take cues off of people that you work with. Um, I'm not sure if that's like a deep enough answer.
no, I think that's great. I think it honestly, having done a lot of these, harps back. I don't remember the word. It goes back to what I'm words. I've said this a lot in these things. Words. When I feel like I have to say the words, I can't think of them. But then
No,
afterwards, I'm like,
it's
oh, this is what I meant.
yeah, yeah.
You get the idea. But anyways, as other previous videos and interviews have shown, teamwork is so important for a successful improviser, and not really anybody has said like you have to be funny, you have to be good at it. It's mostly you have to know how to listen, support, and be a team player. And
Mhm.
really that's what I love is that the success is not about the individual's ability to improvise. The success is about the group as a whole. And so
Exactly.
I think that that's what I love, is that all the improvisers that I get on this summit are saying that it's really specifically about support, and like obviously like listening and yes anding and all these things, which also involves that support. So I think it's just great that everyone kind of, for the most part, is saying that support of team is more important than being an actual good improviser.
Exactly. So what one of the things I noticed, especially since joining my team, is that you may not be one of the strongest improvisers in your mind, but because you have a team, because you have people playing with you, they can pick up your slack. You I've done so many scenes with this team where it's like what I do is bad. It's like
Mm.
so blatantly bad
Words, right?
words. But my teammates are there and they'll call it out and it'll be funny because they call it out and like
Uh-huh.
they save the scene. Like they'll do like the catching and then vice versa. If they do something
Mm.
bad, you do what you can to like catch that and still make the scene funny. It's collaborative comedy.
Yeah, I think that's a big word, is collaborative.
Mm.
It's yeah, I mean, it's like, you want to be funny, but there's also this idea of like, if you're not having a great night, odds are you're not going to be that funny. But if someone else is like over there like killing it in the warm-ups, and you know that they're like ready, they're like with the energy, they brought the confidence, they brought the improv that they need, like get them out there, let them like win the day, like let them be
Yeah.
the star of the show that night because they're like feeling it.
And you support it.
Yeah. And that's another thing,
Um,
is like, even like with, for those who don't know about a herald, it's a form of improv where there's a bunch of group games, there's scenes, and then you bring back each of the three scenes multiple times. It's a big long form, but even then with that, it's like, there, I think one of the big reasons why there's 8 people on an improv herald team as opposed to 6 people is because there's going to be 2 people who are going to be supporting the whole evening. They're not going to be
mhm.
one of the people in the 2-person scenes. And granted, I mean, having 6 people, it's rough to have to do the scenes and then also lead all the group games, because the 2 supporting people are likely going to be leading those group games. But it's, again, it's like, that means I know every week I'm not going to be one of the 2 people in the scenes. I'm going to be one of those people in charge of supporting. And if I find that I'm in every single scene every single week, then I'm not being the most supportive player by jumping out and being characters or people in the scene and doing those scenes each time, when I should be doing the sidelines and supporting where needed, as opposed to being the center. And I think that that's what I think is great about having 8 people on a team. When you do a form that requires 6 people to kind of shine and the other 2 to shine by supporting.
I
That's
agree.
what I
I
think.
absolutely agree.
Well, Chris, do you have any before we get into like big the big question I have,
Oh
which is
no.
why the
Oh
improv
boy.
summit
Oh
happened.
boy. Okay.
Um, Also, for those listening and watching, I do prep my guests on this question before I ask it. So they always have a crazy reaction, like they've never heard it before, which I also love, because they're yes anding this like idea, but they were prepped on the questions prior. Anyway, do you have any plugs or pitches that you would like to throw out there,
Oh man.
in general?
Um, I could also always pitch, uh, a really awesome improv show at Second City. They do an online show. Um, I think they're on break right now. But I believe they'll be doing more eventually sometime this year once they get everything all sorted. So watch out for that. It's an online, family friendly, 1 hour short form improv that Spencer and I have done in the live show. Um, and hopefully we'll get to do the online show too.
And hopefully
It'd
more
be
live
great.
shows in the future.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be back.
Yeah.
I also did an episode of an awesome podcast called Theoretical Thrills. You can, like go to the the catalog and catch my episode. I did the episode for Animaniacs, where Spencer and friends pitch Animaniac themed theme park rides.
Which, by
Uh,
the way, I don't remember who it was, but someone had messaged me the other day and they said, I've been listening to your podcast. It's one of my friends, and they're like, the guy who was the guest on Animaniacs, I really loved him. He knew his stuff and he was really great. So you got a compliment from someone I don't
yes,
remember.
yes.
And I'm sorry to
I
that person. I'm sorry. Tell me it was you and I'll say hi again.
I will say, the day after we did the episode, I had realized I said, oh gosh, now I'm blanking again. Was it Roger Rogel? Randy Rogel.
I don't know which one you said, and I don't
Hold
know
up,
which one you
hold up.
mean.
I'm looking it up right now because it's gonna piss me off if I forget again. Uh, Randy. Yeah. So I said Roger Rogel, who was the writer for all the Animaniacs songs, for like Yakko's World, um, Quiet, like every single song in the original Animaniacs uh, TV show. That was all Randy Rogel. In the episode, I said Roger Rogel, and I wasn't sure, but I said it anyway. And I realized I said it incorrectly the day after, and I was like, no, I'm so upset.
Well, one, no one has told us anything as of, I mean, who knows between now and this release of this. But two, for Mr. Roger Rogel, we apologize. Or Randy Rogel. See, I
Randy
just did it.
Rogel. Randy
Mr.
Rogel.
Randy Rogel, we apologize for miscrediting you as Mr. Roger Rogel.
Yes. Please don't
Um,
take that into consideration if I ever come across your desk for casting. Thank you very much.
yeah, all right. Well, on that note, here's the. Oh, any other pitches? Any other
Oh,
plugs or anything?
I mean, once once live shows are possible again, come check out Room to Improv in NoHo every first Friday of the month. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, just Room to Improv. So
Hmm. I feel like there's room to grow too. Just kidding. Oh, okay, all right. Everyone's like, all right. I just heard a bunch of groans from the proverbial audience. Which that wasn't even a pun. That was just really a bad segue of nothing. Speaking of bad segues of nothing, here's the the question, the question
Oh,
that everyone's
yes.
been wanting to know. The reason the Improv Summit exists
Summit. Yeah.
is I have a lot of people prior to the COVID times, but also even now, still, I get people asking me this question. But they say to me, Spencer, you do a lot of improv. Where should I take improv? And back before COVID, it was hard enough for me to give that answer because it's based on a lot of things. But even now, since improv is accessible throughout the world from wherever
Mhm.
you are, it makes it almost even harder to answer that question.
Right,
But
right, right.
whether it's in person or online, it can be a combination of the two. It can be separate, whatever you want. If someone said, "Hey, Chris, where should I take improv?" If someone came up to you and said that,
Mm.
whether it's in person or online, what would be a piece of advice or a tip that you'd give them to help them start their improv journey?
That's the hard part because again, we are in an entertainment hub of Los Angeles. Um, it depends on what they want to do. Like
Mm,
if it's something, for example, you just want a taste of improv, like to get your mind going. UCB is always solid. They'll teach you the basics in 101. Teach you and then start teaching you the Herald from 201 on. Like if you want to eventually get into writing, Second City is very good for you because again, they'll teach you basics of improv, but then theirs is more geared toward eventually getting you to write a show, um, and using improv as a vehicle to create these scenarios. And if you're interested in big characters. Groundlings is what their focus is character based improv, where the funny in the thing comes from not the game, which is what UCB's is, what the funny part is. It's about the character and their view on the world, and so they do a lot of character based. At least from my understanding, they do a lot of character based improv
mhm.
focus. And then if you just want to do like a general idea, there's always like the smaller schools, which they may not have the renown of UCB or the Second City or Groundlings, but they are filled with people who have had that training and they'll teach you improv, like a solid, be a very good starter for you to learn improv at a much cheaper price than the big schools. And you won't lose out on your education. Then again, same time though, you have to find a teacher and a style of improv that gels with you.
Hmm.
just like a general acting tip. Uh, if you are focusing on acting technique, not all techniques will work for how you work. So find the school, find the technique that you get, that you enjoy, and then use everything else as like a possible challenge if you want to try something different. You know.
Hmm. That's great. I love that. I was going to say that that was the last question I have for you, but I would be lying.
Oh, okay.
Um, so my last question, actually, it's not even my last question, but my question is, would you
Sure.
like to do an improv scene since this is the
Uh,
improv summit after all?
I will.
A bank.
Bank. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, bank.
Thank you, bank.
Hey, Jack,
Yeah, Stephen.
do you hear this? It's like rhythmic.
Yeah. No, I hear it. I've heard it for the past 3 hours. Um, while we've been held hostage during this bank robbery, can you please stop with the beats? This is very stressful for me. Okay.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood, dude. This is like, it's a really stressful time for us all. I'm just trying to make it, just trying to lighten the mood. Just enjoy the music.
You, Stephen, you really can't read the room right now. We have guns pointed at us at all times. I don't want to die today.
I don't want to die today either. In fact, I don't ever want to die. Isn't that the idea of life's like inequities? I think that's the word I'm thinking of. But that we die even though we don't want to. We don't choose when we die. We don't choose to die. It's just a circle of life. It's just a matter of living. Now, whether I die today or whether I die tomorrow, whether I die several years from now or whether I never die, which I know is not going to be the case, I want to enjoy every moment that I have. And I think you should do the same.
Stephen, now is not the time to wax poetic and discuss the meaning of life while we are being held up at gunpoint. This guy is staring at you. He's getting really, you can see the vein in his eyebrow pulsing because you won't shut up.
You like the music, don't you? He likes the music.
Look, I will shoot you myself. You don't stop it. I just, I want everyone to go home at the end of this. Okay? The police are outside. They're this close to negotiating. So we can leave. And you won't stop with the beats. No more hand boning.
So you want me to just sit in misery? Because here's the thing I want you to understand. Sitting in misery, if we wallow in our misery, we're just wallowing in our own filth. And I feel like having the rhythm, having the rhythm of the music, having the beat, having the idea of some kind of sanctity within the happiness of wallowing in your own misery just really adds to the point of living. It creates this wild world in which we don't know which way we're going to turn. We don't know when we're going to turn. We don't know why we're going to turn or where we're going to turn or what is going to make us turn. But we know that we can navigate all these uncertain conditions, uncertain pathways, uncertain roads that lead us anywhere. But what we can do is we can create our own love for something. And that love I have is the love for music.
Steven, if you just do the beats, will you shut up?
Yeah.
Just just do the beats.
Okay.
Scene.
Yeah. That was fun. That was a fun
That
one.
was a good one. That was a solid one. I like that one.
Hey, everybody, thanks so much for coming to the Improv Summit. That's Chris. I'm Spencer. See you next time. Bye.